In the quiet outskirts of Tulsa, where long highways stretch under endless skies and the wind hums through open fields, lived a man named Evan Ross. Evan wasn't famous. He wasn't wealthy. But he had something many envied, a simple, beautiful life. At 38, Evan owned a small auto repair shop on Route 66. It wasn't glamorous, but it was his. The scent of engine oil and warm metal felt like home. Customers trusted him. Neighbors respected him. And every evening, he returned to a modest brick house where laughter filled the air. His wife, Emily, had a way of smiling that made hard days softer. Their 8-year-old son, Noah, believed his father could fix anything, from broken bicycles to broken dreams. Evan used to say, "As long as we're together, we're rich." He had no idea how fragile together could be. It was early September when the sky turned violent. The forecast had mentioned storms, but no one expected the fury that rolled in after midnight. Thunder cracked like the sky was splitting open. Rain pounded against windows. Wind howled like a warning. Evan woke to the sound of sirens. Then his phone rang. It was his neighbor, shouting over the chaos. "Evan, your shop, there's a fire." Lightning struck. His heart dropped. He rushed into the storm, rain soaking him within seconds. As he approached Route 66, he saw it, the orange glow slicing through the darkness. Flames swallowed everything he had built. The garage doors had collapsed. Smoke choked the air. Firefighters fought bravely, but nature had already decided. By morning, the shop was nothing but charred metal and ash. Evan stood there, trembling, not from cold, but from disbelief. 20 years of sweat. Gone in hours. But the night wasn't finished with him. Exhausted and broken, Evan returned home at dawn. As he turned onto his street, he saw flashing lights again. But this time, they weren't near his shop. They were near his house. A massive oak tree, uprooted by the storm, had crashed straight through the roof. The front wall had partially collapsed. His knees nearly gave out. Emergency responders stood outside. Emily and Noah were wrapped in blankets, sitting in an ambulance. They were alive. But Emily's arm was fractured, and Noah had a deep cut across his forehead. They would recover, but the house wouldn't. Evan looked at the shattered windows, the exposed beams, the pieces of his life scattered like debris. In one single night, he had lost his business and his home. Insurance would cover some damage, but not enough. Savings would help, but not for long. He felt stripped of everything he had worked for. Everything, except one thing. His will. The days that followed were heavy. They moved into a small motel on the edge of town. Evan spent mornings on the phone with insurance companies and evenings staring at the ceiling, replaying the storm in his mind. People offered sympathy. "Man, I don't know how you're standing. I'd lose my mind. Starting over at your age? That's rough." Each comment, though well-meaning, pressed against his spirit. One night, while Emily slept and Noah rested beside her, Evan stepped outside the motel. The air smelled of wet pavement and gasoline. The world felt indifferent. He clenched his fists. For the first time in years, he felt powerless. He whispered to himself, "Why?" But no answer came. Only silence. And then, slowly, something else rose inside him. Not anger. Not despair. Determination. Evan remembered something his father once told him: "You can't control the storm. But you can decide if it breaks you or builds you." Standing under the dim motel lights, Evan made a choice. He would rebuild. Not because it was easy. Not because he had money. But because quitting would mean losing the one thing the storm couldn't take, his will. The next morning, he visited the ruins of his shop. Ash still coated the ground. The sign that once read, "Ross Auto Repair," lay twisted and blackened. Instead of seeing an ending, Evan forced himself to see a beginning. He grabbed a shovel. If he had to clear every piece himself, he would. At first, progress felt invisible. He sold his damaged tools for scrap and used the little money to buy basic equipment. A friend offered space in his own garage to help Evan take small repair jobs. Customers trickled back, not because of the building, but because of the man. Word spread. Evan's still working. He didn't quit. In a world quick to fold under pressure, resilience stands out. Meanwhile, volunteers from church and neighbors helped stabilize the house. Emily, despite her injury, insisted on handling paperwork. Noah drew pictures of a new and bigger garage for Dad. Every drawing had bright red letters, "Never give up." Evan pinned one above his temporary workbench. Whenever doubt whispered, he looked at those 3 words. 3 months later, winter arrived early. Money ran thin. Motel bills piled up. Insurance disputes dragged on. One evening, Evan sat in his truck, hands gripping the steering wheel. He felt exhaustion sink deep into his bones. "What if this is too big?" he muttered. For a moment, just a moment, he imagined walking away. Finding a regular job. Forgetting the dream. Life would be simpler. Safer. But then he remembered the flames. He remembered the broken house. He remembered his son watching him every day. If he gave up now, what lesson would that teach? That storms win. That loss defines you. Evan wiped his face, inhaled deeply, and stepped out of the truck. "I didn't survive the worst night of my life to surrender on an ordinary one," he said firmly. By spring, something remarkable happened. A local community fundraiser, organized quietly by customers, raised enough money to help Evan lease a small building. It wasn't as big as before. It wasn't perfect. But it was his again. The day he hung a new sign, "Ross Auto Repair," rebuilt stronger, his hands trembled. Not from fear. From gratitude. Emily stood beside him. Noah beamed with pride. Evan turned the key and unlocked the door to his future. Inside, the space echoed with possibility. Years later, people would still talk about that storm. They would mention the lightning strike and the fallen oak tree. But Evan rarely focused on what he lost. Instead, he spoke about what he found. Strength he didn't know he had. A community he once took for granted. A deeper appreciation for every ordinary day. He realized something powerful: losing everything didn't destroy him. It revealed him. Because when the fire burned and the walls collapsed, the only thing left standing was his will. And that was enough. Life doesn't promise fairness. It doesn't guarantee protection from sudden loss. Sometimes, in a single night, everything familiar can disappear. But here's the truth Evan learned: you are not your possessions. You are not your circumstances. You are not your worst moment. You are your response. And when everything else is stripped away, your will becomes your foundation. Storms may take your house. They may take your job. They may shake your confidence. But they cannot take your decision to rise again. Evan Ross lost everything in one night. Except his will. And in the end, that was the one thing that rebuilt it all. No matter what you lose, protect your will. Because as long as it lives, so does your comeback.